And frankly speaking, I could do a separate show about your hobbies itself because you both are very diverse people. And I totally relate to the idea that applying what you have learned is a very key part of actually learning itself. And it's really very nice to hear about how both of your research experiences kind of converge in that sense of of that idea of lifelong learning. And I'm really curious to hear a lot more. But let's just look first into the title. I guess titles are very important. For me personally, when I had to first come out with the title for my research, my honors thesis, I was really at my wit's end because I realized how important every word is when it goes into the title. And I must say, I found your research titles very, very, very fascinating. For Nicole's case, I didn't quite understand all the science terms, I must confess. But I would like to hear more from both of you actually. What kind of made you all decide on your research titles?
And I think for me, what was particularly interesting was this concept of minoritization and the idea of embeddedness. So I think there were different sociological concepts that were being explored in the field of sociology. But I think for me, what was particularly interesting was to look at how these concepts can actually be roped into political science in trying to understand the relationship between the state, the society, and religion.
For me, I chose Dr Shruti Bhatt's lab because she works on acute myeloid leukemia, which is a blood cancer. And blood cancers is something that I hold quite dear to my heart. Before I entered university, I actually volunteered at the Children's Cancer Foundation. And one of the most common children's cancer is actually leukemia. My grandfather also passed away before I entered university, and he actually suffered from blood cancer as well. And so because of the history I have with blood cancers, that's why I chose Dr Shruti Bhatt's lab to work on. And she gave me this particular research question to work on. And I did feel very compelled to work on it because it focuses on this particular group of patients that have the TP53 mutations. And this particular group of patients do not perform well with the current treatments available. And so we want to find out why this is so. And I think this is very important because with this, we can then find out how we can overcome this resistance.
I guess for both of you, it's really interesting how you guys have approached your set of considerations in very different ways, and coming from different expertise and fields. I guess it's really very engaging so far. And I guess speaking of engagement, projects often come with experiences, as you have started it off for me. It's empirical in nature as well. So what was one unforgettable moment, or do you have any anecdote, quick anecdote to share that was unforgettable on course of your research?
I think if you ask me about one particular experience or one particular anecdote, I would say I think would be a number of people that I interviewed that shared really very different and interesting personal experiences with people from the different sectarian communities. And some of them were great, some of them weren't that great. But I think to me, what was pretty interesting is that through the responses that I got, I think I got a peek into their day-to-day lives. And I think that was pretty meaningful, right? I was pretty certain that whatever that I heard during the interviews will never be found in any ordinary textbooks. Right?
Absolutely. Nicole, how about you?
For me, I think the more unforgettable experiences are actually my personal experiences with the people in the lab and actually inter-lab as well. And so what we actually do is that we actually blast music in the lab. And so we will all be like listening to the same song but all doing our different projects at the same time. And what's very heartening to see is that when we ran out of reagents or we have something missing, we can just ask the other lab to borrow for a moment, especially because during the COVID situation there was problems with shipping and all that. So that came out quite often, and we are actually very, very lucky to have very good neighbours as well.